Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we uncover some of the most emotional and intense Reddit stories out there. Today's topic dives deep into the realm of haunting pasts and painful memories, those experiences that linger in our minds, shaping who we are but often holding us back. From unresolved trauma to moments we wish we could forget, these stories remind us just how powerful the past can be. Get ready for a raw, emotional journey as we explore the stories that cut deep. Let's get started. Story 1. Not as bad as most of these, but senior prom. I asked a girl to go with me at the beginning of the year. A few months beforehand I asked her again to be sure and she answered excitedly yeah. So I felt awesome. She was my high school/work crush. I even got my license just so I could pick her up and take her. Well, the day came to buy tickets, which were about $80 a piece. I texted her and told her I got the tickets and I couldn't wait. Well, she responded with I was kidding. I literally felt like fucking dirt. I walked home from school because I didn't have a car of my own and I missed my bus because I was buying tickets. I cried the whole time. I went into my bedroom and just laid there until I fell asleep. I went to prom, still. Just not with her. Had a good time. Sorry for the wall of text. On mobile. Edit. Another time I was hanging out with a girl from work. It was usually just me and her getting drinks at a bar and hanging out. I hung out with her and her girlfriends sometimes too. We were texting nonstop during this whole time too, 3 months or so I finally asked her out on a date via text, derp. She was at a nightclub with her friends. We were texting all day and night up to this point. I was going to bed, so I asked her if she wanted to get dinner and drinks the following Friday. She texted back like a date? Me, yeah. Her about 15 minutes later, my phone's dying, can we talk about this tomorrow? So she never texted me back. I did, and she didn't want to date anyone at the time. Flash forward 2 weeks, I asked if she wants to grab beer and wings. She said yeah, but asked if her bro who was visiting could come, along with his and her friends. I didn't care, so I meet her and the 5 other people I never met before at her house. She answers the door and introduces me to everyone. One of them was her new boyfriend. I also had to drive people. I pretty much never hung out with her, maybe twice after that. I get mind fucked by girls, because I'm a sucker. I felt like shit. Story 2. Elementary school, 5th grade. There was a girl in my class I was friendly with. Nothing special, as far as I was concerned. I thought she was nice, and I was generally nice to other people, so we were nice to each other. Nothing complicated about it. One day during some free time in the class, a group of boys were standing around talking about something, and it turned into a game of punch the guy next to you in the arm while the teacher isn't looking. You know, prove how badass you were for risking getting into trouble if you got caught. Said girl was standing next to me, laughing along with the guys. At some point, the punching escalated into something a little more physical, and as best as I could tell, somebody got shoved into me pretty hard while I wasn't looking. I stumbled pretty hard, straight into that girl, and knocked her over. I was startled, and so was she. I looked down at her on the floor, and her expression was a perfect mirror of mine, just startled and confused. Something about that struck me as funny, and I laughed. Not a big laugh, just a quick chuckle, like wow, that sure was unexpected. Her expression instantly shifted from confused to hurt. And then she started crying. Real, anguished crying. I stood there like a moron, totally bewildered. Between sobs, she yelled up at me, I hate you, Skip. I hate you. Then she got up and ran out of the room. I didn't understand, and I don't think I acquitted myself very well on how I reacted. She wouldn't talk to me. There were only a few weeks of class left, and she wouldn't talk to me, and neither would most of the other girls in the class. The next school year, we went to different middle schools, and before high school, I moved away. I never did talk to her again. I did eventually find out that she'd had a huge crush on me that year, explaining why she'd been hanging out with the boys that day. I was clueless. Every girl in the class knew, and most of the boys, but I was oblivious. From her perspective, without seeing that I'd been run into, she'd been standing next to the guy she liked, who suddenly decided to shove her to the floor, and then stood over her and laughed. How much worse could it possibly get? I'll always remember how upset she was, and how it sounded hearing her say "I hate you" with such hurt in her voice. Story 3. My parents got divorced when I was 6, and it was not pretty, and when I was 10, my mom and stepfather moved to a different state. Holidays were a regular sticking point with my parents after that, because we'd have to arrange visits with so many families. When I was around 13, we went to my stepmom's family first thing on Christmas morning. The deal was that I was supposed to go to my aunt's house before noon for lunch and such with my mom's family. Noon comes and goes, and so does 2 p.m. As we're leaving, I realized what time it was and that my dad is not driving to my aunt's, but going home instead. I asked why and was told your mom said she didn't want to see you. And she's leaving to go home in the morning. I was crushed, and cried and cried. The next day, my dad tries to use the situation to his advantage by telling me every bad thing my mom's ever done. And I mean everything, including legal issues that a child should not know about, and for years, I secretly knew all these deep dark secrets about her. When I was older, my mom and I had a huge talk about that day. She said that she had called several times and my dad had blown her off saying that I'd been having too much fun to leave. She had finally told him that they had already eaten and opened presents, and she was so upset that they'd be leaving early in the morning to go home. For years, the memory hurt because I thought my mom was mad at me. Now it hurts because I see just how much of an ass my dad was when I was younger. I learned a lot about being a good parent through that, and when my husband and I split, we both agreed to never use our daughter as a playing piece against each other. We have had the most agreeable divorce I think I've ever witnessed. Story 4. I am the middle child and black sheep of my incredibly dysfunctional family. I have a crazy, bipolar sister that I cut out of my life because she is evil. Years ago she threatened to attack my husband and I stopped speaking to her, which was not a big deal because we lived in Virginia Beach and she lived in Northern Virginia. I have an older sister I don't talk to because she is crazy as well. Fast forward to 2008. I get a call my bipolar sister. She is screaming in the phone for me to give her my address. I told her to tell me what is wrong. She continues to scream at me and says that I am not worth shit and I should be happy she has driven all of this way because she did not have to do it. I said the last time we spoke you tried to fight my husband. You should understand my concern with giving you my address. She goes even crazier and her husband, who was driving, joins in the insults. I hang up and call my older sister. She is screaming as well about how I am such a terrible person for not giving her my address. She then says she will give it to her and hangs up while I am telling her not to. My sister finds my house and jumps out of the car screaming at me in the front yard. Here is what she tells me. "Mk asterisk 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 asterisk, what is going on? Why are you mad at me? Why are you acting like this? Sister, fuck you. I am the only one thinking about your ass and you are being a shithead. I just wanted to tell you your daddy is dead. They found him on the fucking floor dead trying to call 911. Not sit on that and spin, bitch. We don't have the same father. I was his only child with my mom. I had just seen my dad last week. He had pancreatic disease but was still working and seemed to be doing okay. He came over for a visit and told me how much he loved me. We look just alike. I smile like him. I get my smarts from him. I am nothing like my immediate family and everyone knew I was his twin. My daddy was gone. I collapsed right there in the driveway. I felt dizzy and nauseous. I thought I was going to die right then and there because it was a grief I had never felt before. She stood over me, watching me in disgust as my world collapsed. My mind kept reliving every memory of him as some bizarre attempt to ensure I would never forget a thing about him. My mind was trying to keep him in this world while also accepting the realization that he was gone. My husband had to come and help me inside the house. My sister came in for a brief minute to say she is leaving. No goodbye. No hugs. Not even an "I'm sorry." My chest still tightens when I think about it. All she had to do was say, "I know we have had some problems, but I need to tell you something that is very serious and not the type of news to say over the phone. I am not mad." Or something like that, and I would have given her my address. But the evil in her would not allow her to be kind. Story 4. Had a cat named Kitty that was born on the same week as me. I named her Kitty when I was in my late 2s. It was my first word. She thought I was her baby. My mother told me that when I would cry, Kitty would track her down and meow until my mother comforted me. She was my best friend for the longest time. I was kind of socially awkward and didn't have tons of friends. One day, when I was 8 or 9, my dad was leaving for work and saw something on our front steps. Kitty was laying there, and all over her mouth and chest was a horrible yellow froth with blood mixed in. It was horrendous. She was in obvious pain, trying to meow, but she couldn't. My dad panicked and started yelling, grabbing her up and running to the car. My mom followed and told me not to get in the car with her. She started crying as they pulled out of the driveway. About an hour later, I got a call from my father saying she'd passed, and that they'd done all they could and concluded that she had been poisoned. After snooping around, me and my father found a small plate with half-eaten meat on it on our neighbor's yard. It turned out the woman living next to us got fed up with Kitty doing her business on their yard, and decided to poison her. It was horrible, possibly the worst thing that's ever happened to me. R.I.P. Kitty.